This is George Corpse. You're listening to What's Metal Radio Show 104.8.
Okay, just start. Already asked you before, but now for the listeners, what's your first impression of this with Full Force Festival?
It was great. The crowd was great. From beginning to end, they were totally into the stuff, and we thought there might be more people here that possibly weren't familiar with our music, and if there were, they sort of didn't show it. So I think it was a great festival, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Iron Maiden. It's going to be a great show.
Okay, talking about the negative sides, you were supposed to play the Wave Gothic meeting, but there was some trouble with the organization. Can you tell us a little bit of this?
I don't know. I usually don't take care of the business, so Paul might know more about that. I don't know what happened with all that. We've been off for the past couple of weeks. We actually had finished. We went to Brazil. We finished a tour that we did in Europe with Vomitory, Mystic Circle, and then we did the No Mercy festivals.
Yeah, but you were supposed to play that festival.
Well, not that I know of, no. There was a possibility maybe that we were going to, but I don't know if it ever went through, A lot of people think that we're playing the Wacken Festival, and we're not. Because we're going to be doing a tour in the States. So.
Talking about the new release, Bloodthirst, your impression, what is the development in comparison to the Gallery of Suicide album?
Well, I think the biggest thing is you'll notice is the sound quality as far as the production of the album goes. We used Colin Richardson, and he's really fucking killer, and I think when you listen to the album, you'll hear first the sound quality and as far as the production are just much better. I think Gallery of Suicide maybe had a little bit too much experimenting going on, and this one's more straightforward and straight to the point, and that's what I think we're all about, I mean, yeah, experimenting might not be bad, but I much rather just kick you in the teeth straight, you know what I mean? Right away, just, and I think that's what Bloodthirst is more like that. From, pounding in the dust onward, I think it has more pop, not pop like pop, but, more punch, if you will.
Okay, talking about production, Jim Morris was a producer for the first 5 albums, I believe. Then you chose Scott Burns for Gallery, and now Colin Richardson. So
it's Scott for the first 5.
Okay,
then Jim, and then Colin.
So how would you characterize the work of each producer and the personality, maybe?
Well, I think working with Scott is awesome. I mean, he did all the albums before Gallery, and he's really great to work with. We're all really comfortable with Scott, but he got a new job, and he was unable to really put lots of time into doing production. So we decided to use Jim, and I worked with Jim on Imperial Doom with Monstrosity. And it was great to work with him. I think he got us the best sound that we could have gotten out of more sound. And Colin, is just altogether different from all those guys. He's worked with death metal bands before, but he's worked with other bands as well that aren't very much death metal. And the thing that stood out for us when we wanted to use him was the production of the guitar sound. It always was like, and it really... It was always the first thing you noticed about a Colin Richardson production was how incredible the guitars sounded. And we were always thinking, man, what if, our guitars would sound like that, It would make it, even more heavier, much heavier than what we were doing the previous album. So,
Were you thinking about sounds like Bolt Thrower and Fear Factory produced before? Did you want to have a sound like that, or?
No, we knew that he had done like Sinister and Carcass and things like that, I mean, we listened to basically the guitar sounds, not really the style of the bands, because we're death metal, and Fear Factory are totally different than what we are, And so Sinister is obviously closer as far as we're concerned, to us, and that's the kind of stuff we listen to. And you listen to because we play a lot faster than Machine Head and some of the other bands he's produced. So, we knew there would be a difference, but we thought that if we could get that sound, and if it could really, if he could really push it out to the people as far as when we play faster, that's the hard part. Because we have some slow stuff, like Unleashing the Bloodthirsty, and you can just hear the guitar. But we do play faster stuff. And that's what was a challenge. It was to take the guitar sound that he's, not the exact guitar sound he's famous for, but basically he's famous for guitar sounds and really good sounds. We wanted to get that, but have it also stand out as well when we play fast, because we love playing fast, and we do a lot of it, and really for Colin, it might have been a challenge to play with a band that fast, but he's done Sinister. And Sinister is the closest band to us, that I can imagine that he's done, He actually did Napalm Death too as well. And so, I think overall what we wanted to accomplish was accomplished, and if hopefully we can use him for the next album, we can make it an even better album and make it go, take this the level that we started, I think, with this album, take it to another level, with what Colin, because we know him now, we worked with him, he's comfortable with us, and that's the thing, is we work together, he's sort of seen what we're about, because I don't think he'd really heard us before we used him, He came over, to America a few weeks before we did the album to sort of, learn the songs. So now that he's comfortable with us, I think the next album will be even better than this one. I hope so. I hope everybody loves it, and I hope everyone loves this album.
So subsequently, would you say that you were not satisfied with the work of Jim Morris? Because when I talked to Alex the day when Gallery was out, he said he was so happy with the sound because it was the first time that the guitar tracks were 4 but 2, and he put less distortion into the sound because you will use 7-string guitars, would sound better. So this technical approach, did he also use this approach, or has he his own technical style?
Well, I mean, we're not unhappy with what Jim did. It's just that it had been a year, and after you have a year to listen to your record and sort of pick at what you think is wrong, it has nothing to do with Jim. We should have noticed it while we were in the studio. So, we wanted to actually use Colin for Gallery, but there was just a lot of problems, and we couldn't get him. So we used Jim, and that's not, we don't look at that as a bad thing, because Jim did a really good job, and at the time that Gallery was finished, we thought it was our best album as far as production and everything. I just think that there's a different attitude going into Bloodthirst with a different studio. We're obviously away from home. We're in a secluded area where there's not much to do, so we're sort of more concentrated on that. Plus, you have a new producer. So we're very happy with Gallery, but I think that Gallery is the highlight of our sound and Morris sound. Nothing against Scott, but I think that Gallery, after so many records of Morris sound, was the best album we could get from Morris sound. And if you feel that you can't progress as far as sound, I mean, we're very comfortable staying where we are musically. We don't need to progress. We're death metal. You know what I mean? Yeah, we want to make riffs that are interesting and captivate people and obviously are brutal. But we wanted to progress sound-wise, and I think that with Gallery of Suicide, we weren't going to do that. And that's why we decided to go somewhere else, And I think we made the right choice. It has nothing to do with, the personalities of Morris sound and the place itself. It's more or less just, if you keep doing the same thing over, we don't want to become stagnant. We want people to stay interested, and we want people to be into the band. And we as musicians listen to the music, and you start to nitpick stuff. You start to nitpick this sound, and maybe too much treble here. This is too much low end, and I don't think that my solo came out this well. The notes don't sound as pronounced as they would with a different production. And these are all things that the other guys that are playing the instruments are probably thinking of. And that's a key factor in, you know, going away from more sound. It had nothing to do with Jim. He was great. He was great.
Okay, talking about the music itself, I believe the Bleeding album was maybe the more catchiest one, and the Gallery album maybe the more experimental one. So what's the approach for the next album? Is it a way between, or do you have any ideas?
I hope it's just much more brutal. I mean, I think the Bloodthirst...
You get more brutal.
Well, I think the Bloodthirst is very brutal, but I hope that we can always get more brutal, because that is the main ingredient, is the brutality of the music. That's the main ingredient. We don't want to... I can't say that we don't want to experiment, but really, I don't like to say experiment because that means that we're maybe doing something other than death metal. And we're a fucking death metal band. We're nothing else. We're always going to be death metal. That's all we're about. And so I don't really think that we'll experiment. I think that we'll just try to write more brutal songs that are much, much heavier.
What is the most brutal album you can think of?
In general, oh man, the new Christian's pretty fucking brutal. I'll tell you that much right now. I can name a lot of bands. Angel Corpse, they're exorable. Yeah. I don't want to say for sure, but I've talked to the guys. It looks pretty much like so, yes, but you never know what happens. So I don't want to speak for them, but I think it could be true, yeah. I mean, when I've talked to them guys, yeah, it's true, but I don't want to say outright, yes, and then they see this interview and go, you fucking... But yeah, I've talked to all the guys, and yeah, I think it's pretty much over. I think the other guys will be doing some other stuff that you'll hear about soon, you know.
What do you think of your old friends, Monstrosity? What do you think of their album?
Oh yeah, In Dark Purity, it's fucking great album, yeah. Yeah, Jason Avery rules. When I left to go to Cannibal, rather, it's been so long now, I don't even think I barely remember I was in Monstrosity, but when I left to join Cannibal, I was always telling Lee, you gotta have to get this guy Jason. He's a great singer. I think it's great. I think the new album is amazing.
Monstrosity just headlined the Fuck the Commerce Festival this year. You headlined it the last year, is that right?
Yeah, I don't think actually, 2 years before. I think 2 years before, yeah. Yeah, I just talked to Lee because Chrisian and Dismember had played a show in Tampa with Cataclysm. So I saw a band called Shadows Fall, and I talked to Lee, and he said it was great. It was a really good show, so yeah, man, that's killer. I mean, actually, when we go home, July 15th, they're playing a show in Tampa, so we'll get to see them then. I still love Monstrosity. They're still friends of ours, and I mean, they're a great band anyway, you know.
Okay, I don't warm up this whole censorship thing, but do you see any light at the end of the tunnel? Do you believe there is a solution somehow that you sometime could play Hammer or the old songs?
Well, I hope that we could. But I think that the problem is more with this Christiana or whatever the fuck her name is, and really the government and the people really need to write to them and express their... Yeah, it needs to be more of those guys because we're Americans, and if the German people will write to them and, you know, express their, you know, anger or discomfort or whatever word you want to use, they just write to them and express how they feel. That's the only light I can see, because we can't change the laws, and we want to play the old songs, but I mean, we would have played, you know, lots of the old songs tonight, or as many as we could. We don't have that much time, but we would have definitely played Hammer, and we would have definitely played Skull Full of Maggots, probably even like Born in a Casket or something from the first record, and we would have played those songs. Like when we play in Belgium, we're gonna play that. We'll play all those songs, and we'll play I Come Blood, you know what I mean, and Covered with Sores, and Gutted, you know, so.
It's so stupid.
Yeah.
Because nobody understands the lyrics anyhow. Huh?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility we could get away with it, but it's too much of a risk, and more so that if we do that, there's a possibility we can never play here again. So at the very least, we can play some songs other than never being able to play again. So it's a choice. Can we play, or do we just play it and then never be able to come back again? And of course, we want to play here because we love Germany, so we're stuck in a rock and a hard place. And the only thing I could say is to tell people to write. I don't know how the government system is and how the election process is, but to write to whoever you need to address the situation.
So how big is the market in Germany compared to the other European countries?
I think Germany is one of the biggest markets. Yeah, it's a very big country, and it's a very great market. I mean, you see today. I mean, look at this festival. I'm sure there's lots of people from everywhere else, but I think the bulk is all over from Germany, and Germany's really always been a really great place for metal, even a long time ago. So it's really important for us to, we don't want the people to think that we're just neglecting our old albums, because a lot of bands will play just one song from their old album if they play anything. And we love the old albums, and we play always at least 2 songs, unless we play something like this where we have to cut our time short. So, I just hope that people know that this isn't because of us. It's not our fault. We love Germany, and we would love to play the old songs here because this is some of the best people in the world, to play to.
Recently I read an interview. I don't know the magazine, the name of the magazine, but I don't know if it was a fake interview, but you're saying Mary had a little lamb there. Is that right? Can you remember that interview?
Yes,
and
of course.
Explain what happened there.
It was a Grimoire of Exalted Deeds. And Bill's above. I did an interview with him, and he's asking me all these stupid questions and stuff. I mean, he's a great guy. I like the zine. It's got a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. Some people don't understand where he's coming from, but I do. And so he asked me to sing Mary Had a Little Lamb, and I was, no way, fuck off. I'm not doing it, And he's like, come on. And I'm like, no. So the whole interview, the whole half of that part of that interview is him laughing hysterically, like he couldn't speak to me. He's like, come on, please, man. I'm like, no. And he's like, please do it, And I'm like, no fucking way. But, because he's telling me he's going to put it out on a CD and all this stuff, play it over the radio, and I'm like, fuck no way, So he was so pathetic, you know what I mean, as far as begging me to do it, that I did it. I love the Grimoire of Exalted Deeds. Some people think he's like this racist, evil, bad person, but he's a funny guy, and he really does everything just for fun. And he's trying to push me to do this, and I'm like, fuck no. No, come on, it's Cannibal Corpse. What do you Mary Had a Little Lamb, my ass, But I did it anyway. So it's out there somewhere. He has it on tape, the Grimoire of Exalted Deeds. He has that on tape, me doing it. Well, I just did like Mary Had a Little Lamb, little lamb, little lamb, and it took a shit. That was the last thing I did, so it's true.
Yeah, maybe one last question. I think the fans in Germany are great, but the German bands are worse regarding technical approach in comparison to the American Florida-based bands. So have you an explanation for the fact that the Tampa, Florida bands are so technical and the German more this old school stuff?
Well,
is it rehearsing or?
Well, I don't know. I mean, we rehearse a lot. At least 5 times a week. And, I think in Tampa especially, lots of people congregate from other areas of the world, or rather mostly from the United States. And they usually come to Tampa because they're like, whoa, this is where all the bands are, so this is where all the musicians must be. And sometimes they get there and there's no one there. And then a few months later, they'll meet someone that just recently moved down. And so you have people from all over America coming. Oh, excuse me, damn. Must be the beer. You have people from all over America coming to Tampa looking for good musicians. I think if you look at Germany, I mean, no one can say that Germany is a bad place for metal. If you talk about destruction, well, old destruction, Creator, Assassin, Sodom, Exhumer, I mean, but nowadays, I don't know. I think Germany's such a big country that there are lots of small towns, and maybe a few people from each town like death metal, and so it's really hard to get together with the best musicians because it's so spread out. America, it's much easier to relocate. If I meet someone in Chicago, and it's easier for them to relocate to Florida or for me to relocate to Chicago to do it, you know what I mean? To do a band. So I really don't know because I don't live here, some of the obstacles, but it could be with practice and it could be a few other things, but I think Germany really has had its mark on metal, you know what I mean? And it's going to continue to do so.
Okay, the last one, our show is called What's Metal? So we ask every time what's metal? Music or lifestyle, or maybe more?
What's metal for me? It's how I live, it's who I am. I listen to this music, I love this music, it's my life. I don't think that when I'm walking in the street, I look like most people. Yeah, I do. No, yeah. It's who I am, I'm saying that like most people look at me weird, but if you see a dude walking past you with a Marduk shirt or a Slayer shirt, oh, that guy's metal. That's so you can say, hey man, guys that like work on Wall Street with their suits and ties, maybe a few of them might listen to metal, but they can't tell each other. I can tell a metal guy when I see him. You can see it because they dress the same way, they are the same way, it's the same lifestyle and the same feeling. We do this because, obviously I make a living doing this, but that's not why I do it, because I grew up listening to this music. I love this music, it's who I am. Luckily, I'm in a band that, can, we can support ourselves through the music, but if I wasn't in a band, I'd be out there with the people. It just so happens I'm in a band, and luckily I get to hang out with all these great guys and, and fucking play music for all the great fans. So music to me, metal is life. It's my life. And that includes everything. It's who I am, it's what I'm about.